the musical library of Cliff knows no boundaries. Knows no boundaries. All over the map in the best way possible. Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests will join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Coming up in just a few minutes, Michael Kay, ESPN New York 98.7 FM, will join us, talk about the Yankees, their hot streak, even though it ended last night with the loss in Houston. Carlos Boozer will join us, two-time NBA All-Star at 8:30. We'll get his thoughts on how the Celtics are doing this, Mike. It's really been very impressive.
Yep.
And then Saquon Barkley will join us at 9:30 Eastern. I'm curious because he goes number 2 overall and he goes home. Would you rather have the second selection and go play where you were from? I mean, he grew up in Pennsylvania, but he's from New York originally. Or would you rather have the honor of being the first overall pick in the draft? I mean, there's something about being that number 1 pick, right?
There is something about being number 1, but unfortunately for Cleveland, they have kind of the history of if you're with them, it usually doesn't work out.
Right.
You can't think that will last forever.
No.
I don't think in any stretch of the imagination. It's going to be okay. Saquon's going to be guaranteed, about $31 million, so it's going to all work out okay.
Oh, no. How will he get by?
Yeah.
How will he get through this? So those are all the guests coming up, but let's start, as we always do, with what's trending. And the trending is that the Celtics are the best we'll-figure-it-out team in the NBA right now. Again, no Jaylen Brown last night, no problem. They beat the Sixers 117-101, game 1 of the conference semifinals. And Boston just finding ways to do it, man.
Yeah, they really are. Their big 3 last night, which nobody, I don't think, would have put this big 3 together. Jason Tatum, Al Horford, Terry Rozier, all over.
I had that week 1 of the NBA season. Incredible. Week 1, for sure. That was going to be the big 3.
They scored 83 points. Yeah. Pierce, Allen, and Garnett never did that when the big 3 were together in Boston. Really amazing. The one thing I know for sure that will change, you can't see the 76ers shooting just over 19% from three-point land. They only made 5. Rozier himself made 7 for the Celtics. They were outscored with the 76ers by 36 points on threes alone. But Boston did a great job clogging the middle where Ben Simmons loves to live with his size and his ball handling ability to create in there, whether the shooter to kick out. And when you kick out, guys are just missing shots. They didn't shoot well, as I said, from three-point land. So I would expect that could be different. We had Carol Lawson on talking about there's more than a few things the 76ers could do differently. One of them being hustling back in transition would be something. I kept thinking they were going to make a run, and Boston, to their credit, just kept holding them off. It was one of a few different guys that would just bomb a 3 and just keep the lead up there to where it just took it away for the 76ers, and Boston just keeps on going. Brad Stevens, incredible.
Yeah, every time you felt like the Sixers were crawling back into the game, Celtics came up with the bucket they needed and just kept them at bay the entire time. So we'll see what happens going forward in Game 2. Meanwhile, Game 1 tonight, the other Eastern Conference semis, Cavaliers on the road taking on Toronto. Again, if not tonight, when? Yeah. When will the Raptors ever beat the Cavs in the postseason?
So who helps make this a game for the Cavaliers? We keep hearing about Toronto playing differently. It's a different team. But then, can they get over the LeBron hump? So who is it? Tristan Thompson had his first start of the playoffs in Game 7, had 15 and 10, played really well at the high pick and roll with LeBron. So does he continue to add that spark? Who else? Kevin Love, is he going to be the guy? What's his shooting percentage going to be? Who's going to be that other guy counted on to play their role? And again, it's a role they have to play on the road. And you always hear about role players doing it better at home. Well, they're doing this on the road. My guess is that this one starts to get away from Cleveland, and they just say, okay, this one's going to get away from us. We'll gear up, Rest up for Game 2. Yeah. All we need to do is get a split. Doesn't matter if we win Game 1 or Game 2, just get a split going back to Cleveland.
I'll believe that the Cavs can actually make it back to the finals when somebody else, not named LeBron James, actually scores 20 points. Yeah. In that first-round series, not once.
Be the first time in the playoffs when it happens.
Exactly. Yeah. Not once did somebody not named LeBron James score 20 points for the Cavs. First time LeBron has ever won a playoff series in that situation where no one else scored 20 at least once. That's ridiculous. You've got to get some more production from somebody else besides LeBron. And then the rough start for the Dodgers, continues. Cody Bellinger was benched the other day for hustling, #talking to the rest of the team. Dave Roberts there. Clayton Kershaw struggled a little bit, and now they're going to be without shortstop Corey Seager for the rest of the year, going to have Tommy John surgery.
He said it felt good before the season and in the beginning of the season, that everything felt fine, and then this past weekend he started getting that tingling in there, that numbing and some of the pain, and as an athlete, you know your body better than anybody, and you start to wonder, and he kept saying he hopes it's inflammation, which either rest and or an anti-inflammatory shot can help. But it wasn't, and I wonder at what point he even had the realization, okay, this is going to be more, and it turned out to be way more. For a team, as you mentioned, Clayton Kershaw struggling early, Justin Turner, has the busted wrist, third base, so you got third base and shortstop, now out. Won the shortstop now, and Seager out for the entire season. So early struggles in a long, long season for the Dodgers.
Yeah, it just has never gotten. I mean, they were so close to winning that World Series last year, and now they're just sort of just.
Hey, listen, every year,
out of the game.
There's that mash unit, as I said. Turner at third, Seager at short. Kershaw started out slow. But again, it's a long season. You go through the ebbs and flows. Let's see what they can do.
You know who knows about a long season better than most?
Who's that?
That would be the play-by-play voice of the New York Yankees. Mm-hmm. And, of course, the host of the Michael Kay Show on ESPN New York 98.7 FM. We are delighted to have Michael Kay on the show. Always fun time when he joins us. Michael, good morning. How are we in Houston?
We are fine, and we are delighted as well.
That's good. When everybody's delighted, that's a win.
It's a good thing.
That's a win. The one thing the Yankees didn't get last night was a win. They had their 9-game winning streak snapped. Charlie Morton just wouldn't let them get anything going last night. 7 2/3 innings, struck out 10. Was this just a matter of the hot pitching beat the hot bats?
Well, I mean, the bottom line, the Astros are still the best team in the American League. The Yankees' 9-game winning streak, everything went well, pitching well, hitting well. But, Charlie Morton's been great. He didn't just rise up and beat the Yankees. That made him 4-0 yesterday. And he's one of the great stories in baseball. A guy used to throw 92, now threw 99 yesterday. They've changed the way he pitches, and he was unbelievable. So the Yankees did get in at 5 in the morning after playing on Sunday Night Baseball against the Angels. No excuse, but if you want to use an excuse, that could be it. But I think it was mostly Charlie Morton, and that's the Astros formula. Their bullpen's been great, and their starters have been great. And the Yankees, dating back to last year, cannot win in that ballpark. I think they've scored 0 or 1 run in the last 6 games at that ballpark, now 7.
Yeah, and ballpark or pitching, one way or the other. That seems to be the issue there. But, Michael, the one thing that's really interesting about this is that the Astros sort of came out and said, hey, before this game, it's not just the 38th or the 28th game of the regular season. We want to send a message to the Yankees that we're still the team to beat.
Well, I think the Yankees know that, and certainly if they wanted to use that as motivation for themselves, well, that's cool. The one thing that I just don't understand is when people are saying, the Yankees could get revenge for last year's ALCS.
No.
Tell me how.
Yeah.
So even if they swept this 4-game set, the Astros still won the World Series. There's no such thing as revenge. I think this is a good barometer and a good litmus test for both teams, where they are, what they have to do, where they have to move forward. But off of last night's game, think about it. The Yankees have to be thrilled. That was Sonny Gray's best start of the year. Charlie Morton was great, so the Astros have to be thrilled. It was a good old pitcher's duel that took 2 hours and 31 minutes. So
even better.
Jim Cott is happy.
So, and in this game, the last game or the last month, a day of the month, you have the first time ever that in a month in baseball there were more strikeouts than there were hits, and the Yankees certainly added to that with 14 strikeouts. Stanton having 3 of those, he has 43 now. We'll get to that. No. Michael, you've been around this game a long time, and this is the first time that has happened. More
Are you
strikeouts
calling him
in a
old?
month. No, more strikeouts in a month than hits. What is the reason in your mind for it?
A launch angle. Everybody's trying to hit home runs, and I love this game. I really do. It's my favorite sport, and I don't think it does the game any good. It really doesn't. There's too much of nothing. There's a lot of walks, there's a lot of strikeouts, and there's a lot of home runs. So there's really not much movement when those things happen. Yeah, home run, a guy trots around the bases, but everybody's trying to hit home runs, and the way the analytics have figured it out, it's okay to strike out. So when it's okay to strike out, they're going to strike out. There's no more two-strike approach anymore. People are trying to hit the ball out, even if it's 1-2 or 0-2. In the past, you would shorten up, go the other way, and pick up a single. That's not the case anymore, and it works. It proves out, if you shut it into a computer, that's the way to play the game in order to win the most games that you can. I just don't know if it's the most entertaining thing for the sport.
Well, and then let's talk about Stanton. 3 strikeouts last night, 43 right now, second in the American League, had 163 last year to go along with his 59 home runs. Why the struggle, do you think, right now, especially at home for him?
It's hard to figure out, Mike. It really is, because there are some days he looks great. There was one game at home that he picked up 4 hits, and you figure, okay, he's turned the corner, and then he gets back to the striking out. Strikeouts are part of his game, but last year they were not as prevalent as they are this year. So I really don't have a good answer for it, because just when it looks like he's coming out of it, he slides back into it. He has a lot of 3-strikeout games. He's had a 4-strikeout game as well. He had a 5-strikeout game at some point. It's there. You know it's going to be there. He hit a couple of balls really well in Anaheim that just went to the warning track. I wish I can give you a better answer, but I don't think anybody could figure it out at this point, because, again, sometimes he seems out of it and then he slides back in.
Yeah, he clearly feels like he's pressing at home. Batting average is about over 100 points higher on the road. Slugging percentage much higher on the road. We'll see if he can get that sorted out. You have to believe eventually he's going to be the player that we've seen in years past. Michael Kay with us from the Michael Kay Show, ESPN New York 98.7 FM. Also, of course, calls the Yankees games for the Yes Network. Let's talk a little bit about football now. You had Dave Gettleman on your show. He loves the Hog Mollies, and he defended the pick of Saquon Barkley. Did you have any issue with the idea of taking a running back second overall, even though, I mean, Mel Kiper is the most conflicted person in the world when it comes to this, Michael. He had Saquon as the best player in the draft, but he has a theory or a philosophy he lives by. He would never draft a running back in the first round.
I don't have a problem with taking a running back, but I have a problem when a team that has a 37-year-old quarterback refuses to acknowledge that it has to take a quarterback. So the Giants have put themselves in a situation that when Eli's done in a couple of years, if you believe in what the Giants are doing, they're not going to be picking second in the draft in the next couple of years. So they're going to have to sign a quarterback or trade for a quarterback, and we see how well that's worked for the New York Jets. So you just end up chasing your tail. I find it unbelievable, and Dave didn't have an answer for it because he wasn't here. Last year, after the 11th or 12th game, John Mara went to Ben McAdoo and said, we have to start looking at the young guys to, ease the replacement of Eli. Now all of a sudden they think he has 2 or 3 years left. How did that change? Now, Gettleman is very pro Barkley. It seems like everybody in football is pro Barkley. And if you broke it down to the best player that was in the draft, yeah, the Giants took him. How does that serve them in the long run? The only way that I could see this, it's two ways, and Gettleman said it could be a little of both. The Giants are trying to win right away, and do we really believe that they go from 3-13 to win, or they really like Davis Webb? But if they really like Davis Webb, then why did they draft a quarterback in the 4th round? So there's a lot of things that don't fit. Yes, the Giants got the best player, but did they get the best player for their future?
That was my thought about Davis Webb as well. And also, we remember Minnesota rebuilt their entire offensive line to 5 new starters in different positions, and they came out playing pretty well. And we know the Giants are revamping their O-line, so let's see how that O-line plays and then how Saquon can help the running game and the passing game as well. Certainly as a former player, from a player standpoint, they're happy as heck that they took a player that can play now and not a quarterback that may play a few years from now. So we'll see how it all plays out. How about for the Jets? They get Sam Darnold, and all Jet fans are immediately going to say, well, if that's a quarterback we picked, then that's a quarterback that's going to fail. Is that still kind of the prevalent thought there?
That sounds like, same old Jet fans. I will say that. We have not gotten that on the show that much, but I think that the Jets got the best quarterback, the one that they really wanted anyway. That's what Mike McCagnon said on the show yesterday. He would not downgrade any other quarterbacks, but it seemed like they were thrilled that he dropped to third. And maybe over the last 3 years now, the football gods are smiling on the Jets. They were at 6 the last 2 drafts, and they got really great players dropped to them that they did not expect to be there, and those players have proven out to be very good. There was all this suck for Sam talk before the season. The Jets didn't. They went out and tried to win as many games as they possibly could. And they got the 6th pick. They moved up to the 3rd, and there was Sam Darnold. So I think they were shocked when the Browns took Baker Mayfield. Shocked. And then they held their breath that the Giants were going to take Darnold. And then when the Giants took Barkley, boom, there's the player that they ultimately wanted anyway. So he's 20 years old. I don't think he's going to help right away. But in terms of the upside of the 5 quarterbacks taken, he probably has the highest one. I think the Jets did very well in this draft. Yeah,
listen, Michael, you may be right there. And what I love about Darnold is that he has that sort of quiet confidence. Like he's not braggadocious like Baker is. He doesn't have to come out there and do that stuff. Well, one of my favorite stories about Sam was, he was the second high-profiled quarterback to commit to USC. And normally after one quarterback commits to USC or a big school, another quarterback doesn't want to go there. They want to be the guy. But he was the second guy in, and he said to then offensive coordinator Clay Helton, hey, best guy plays, right? And by the end of training camp that year at USC, his freshman year, that high-profile pick, the first one, Ricky Town, was in the process of transferring to Arkansas, and Darnold was there and going to be established as a starter. He just went in there and took it, and that's what I love about his attitude.
I love that story, too, and I love the fact that, I don't know if you realize this, Golic, but the guys on my show, Peter and Don, they really believe that, Trey steals stuff from our show. So I can tell you that I've stolen that story from you, Trey, and I use it all the time on the air.
And listen, in this business, everybody's a thief. And you know what? It's okay.
I love it.
No, but literally, every time I go on the Michael K show, they say we're stealing something else.
Yeah.
The Tiger Sounder they had a problem with.
It's okay.
It's okay. It's all right.
It's okay.
All right.
Stealing is fine.
I love it all.
No problem at all.
But we're all in the same family, so it doesn't matter.
That's exactly right. Michael K joining us from the Michael K show on ESPN 98.7 FM in New York. All right, who do you want to see as the Knicks coach?
Jeff Van Gundy, but they're not interviewing him, so I'm not going to get what I want.
All right, out of candidates they're actually going to pick from, who do you want as the coach?
I would like to see Mark Jackson. I'd like to see a New Yorker who gets the vibe of the city and understands Knicks fans and has had success on the court with the team and understands the history of the team and appreciates it and loves the history. And I think he would move heaven and earth in order to make this team successful. So I think they've interviewed some very interesting candidates. I think Fizdale would be good. Budenholzer would be good as well. But if you ask me of all of them, I'd like to see Mark Jackson just for the optic of it. And, let's not forget, Golden State was just the dregs of the NBA when he got there. He didn't win a championship with them, but he certainly got them to that point. So he is the Buck Showalter to Steve Kerr's Joe Torre. So I'd like to see him be the Joe Torre this time and turn things around with the Knicks and get championships.
You're absolutely right. I think people forget that. Look, I mean, he set the thing in motion. Now, Steve Kerr's done a great job with it, no question about it, but that foundation was set by Mark Jackson. Real quickly on Van Gundy. Wasn't it yesterday like the 24th anniversary of him hanging on the leg of Charles Oakley in that playoff series? One of the greatest moments of all time. Michael, as always, we appreciate you being with us, my friend. Good luck tonight with what goes on with the Yankees.
You got it, Trey. Thanks so much. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Michael.
Michael K., always an interesting guy. And really, they do a great job on 98.7 at ESPN New York. They really do. It's a really fun show. But I was curious to get his take on the strikeout thing because I thought it was the cold weather. To me, but, look, nobody knows baseball like Michael, but he's talking about that launch angle and trying to swing for the fences as much as anybody else.
That's what we heard last year. It was either a home run or a strikeout, and this took it to the first time ever to happen in a month of baseball, more strikeouts, not than home runs, but more strikeouts than hits. As far as the Giants and Saquon Barkley and the thought process of we need a quarterback for the future because do we really think we can win now? I'll say again.
Yep.
The Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah.
They got basically 5 new starters. There were some guys that were there the year before, but starting in different positions. 5 new starters in their line, and they were blocking great.
Yes.
They were doing a great job. And they had Dalvin Cook, who got hurt, though, but still, the line, they were run blocking well, they were pass blocking well. And make no mistake about it, that Giants line was horrible.
Yes.
See, they tried to trade Eric Flowers.
For what?
For a mid-level
they were never
draft pick,
that.
and nobody was paying that. He's not even working out with the team, so don't even count him in the plans, nor should you. But they're redoing that line. You pick up Nate Solder from the Patriots to be your left tackle to protect Eli Manning, and let's see Will Hernandez, who you pick up in the second round.
I love that
You
pick.
put him right in at a guard spot, and you see what you can do. You get Odell Beckham back, and football is a sport where you could turn it around rather quickly with free agents and or draft picks that can come in right away. And the reason Saquon will play a lot right away is because of the thing you never talk about. He can block.
Yes.
He can pick up
He's a willing
the blitz.
participant.
If a guy can't pick up the blitz, he won't be on the field to help you. This guy can, which means he can pick up the blitz, but he's on the field to go out and catch or run the ball as well. So he is that multifaceted weapon that you could use. The revamped O-line, Odell Beckham back. You have an athletic tight end. You never know what can go on with this offense.
Who was the last high-drafted running back we talked about all those qualities about? That would have been 2016, 4th overall pick Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody is saying the Cowboys made a mistake by picking Ezekiel Elliott with what he was able to do on the field. And to your point, look, he got off on blocking and they called him an honorary offensive lineman at Ohio State.
Right.
Saquon Barkley can do those things. He's freakishly strong. He's freakishly fast. If you want him, put him back there on kick returns, you can also do that. We saw him the opening kick against Ohio State last year at Columbus at the Shoe. Took it back 97 yards to start that game. I understand the metric of, hey, we could do this and get that and maybe find a Kareem Hunt or an Alvin Kamara. He's the best player in the draft. He's the best player in the draft.
And I also think there's part of it, a new coach, you get a new GM, and is the first thing you want to do say, we're drafting for the future?
No.
You know, certainly I look at everything as a former player.
The future is one season in the NFL
and I'm ecstatic as a former player saying, okay, we're in it to win right now. The first pick we took is a guy that's going to have plenty of opportunity to produce on the field.
And again, Saquon Barkley will join us here at 9:30. But lastly, to your point, they got a dynamic running back they believe can flip the script on the offense right away. They got a mauling offensive lineman, which they desperately needed, Will Hernandez. They got a rushing linebacker in Lorenzo Carter. And they got a quarterback that, quite frankly, remember we had Bill Polian on the show at the Combine. I said, give me the name of one person at this Combine that we're not talking about that we should. He said Kyle Lauletta.
From Richmond.
That's the guy they got as their quarterback, the first Richmond quarterback drafted since 1975. Again, it happens really quickly every year in the NFL.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage. By Quicken Loans, chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Next. You're holding up the line, ma'am.
What did you say?
You're next in line for the water slide, ma'am. Feet forward and enjoy the ride.
Okay, dearie. This does look fun. Whee-oh! You melted me. I've melted.
The Wicked Witch of the West on a water slide? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
See what you've done. Oh!
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
All right, let's bring in the big man next. Carlos Boozer, two-time NBA All-Star, NCAA champion with Duke, Olympic gold medalist, and the guy who really made LeBron James who he is.
Yeah.
Just so you know, Carlos, we're going with that. I hope you're all right with it.
Good morning, guys. How we doing?
Doing well.
You're good with that, right? Like you created LeBron. You showed him how to be a pro, all that kind of stuff, right?
No, I definitely didn't. He's an alien. He's incredible. I definitely did not show him that. He did it all on his own.
Dude, run with it. Okay, this was working for you. I don't understand why you're not accepting this. Just take it and run with it.
No, I can't take credit for that. He's a hard worker, man. One of the best we ever seen.
All right, fine. Way to get facts in the way of a good story. Let's talk about a couple of things. First and foremost, the Celtics. How impressed are you with the job Brad Stevens is doing? Every time someone goes out, it doesn't matter. They just find a way to get it done.
Wow. Incredible. I mean, I don't know if someone coach of the year, but incredible job. You know, you lose Hayward, first game of the season. You lose Kyrie down the stretch, and now you lose Brown for the second round, and they still come up, on the top side and win the ball game. Those young guys are really playing well for him.
So what do you think from the 76ers standpoint? What's their first adjustment to be made before game 2?
I think you got to figure out ways to stop them defensively. You got Rozier having a huge night, 28, 29 points. You got Horford Horford looks rejuvenated hanging with those young guys out there in Boston. He played great again last night. And then you got Tatum obviously having a great night. You got to do a better job defensively. I know everyone wants to talk about them only having 5 3-point shots. You got to credit Boston's defense. They did a great job of getting out to their shooters. And then on the other side, there was 17 threes that the Celtics had to only 5 threes that the Sixers had, which is a huge difference in the game. But I think you got to start at the defensive side of things. Obviously, offense is sexy and offense is incredible, and the Sixers have had an incredible offensive season. But defensively, if they want to win this series, they got to step up.
We're with the Booze Cruise right now. Carlos Boozer with us, two-time NBA All-Star. The NBA playoffs, by the way, are on ESPN Radio. Tune in tonight as the Pelicans take on the Warriors, presented by Barbasol Razors. Coverage begins at 10 p.m. Eastern on most ESPN radio stations. Let's stick there for a second, Carlos. It looks like Steph Curry will be back for Game 2. If you're Steve Kerr or you're the Golden State Warriors, do you bring him back now, or do you want to make sure until he's 100%? You're 100% sure that everything's good, because right now he's listed as probable for tonight.
Yeah, I talk about this on my Hold That podcast brought to you by Sports Illustrated. Me and Nate were talking about how.
Well done, Carlos. Hold on, let's just applaud that. Well done. Well done. That's awesome. I just wanted to acknowledge that. Nicely done on your part. Now continue.
Thank you, brother. Well, me and Nate were talking about how if you're the Golden State Warriors, 2 things. One, you're playing great without them, which, I'm not saying that they're better without them. They're just playing great without them. They won game 1 handily. So you can keep going and keep rolling the dice, but also for the long punch. Like, obviously we expect them to get past the Pelicans and meet up with the Houston Rockets in the conference finals. You want Steph to get his rhythm back. So for me, I'm excited to see Steph play. I feel like I haven't seen him play in a long time, and I'm sure his teammates are, the fans are. Get his rhythm back, so that way when the competition gets tougher, like the Houston Rockets that are coming up, he has his rhythm. He's playing at 100%, and they're looking at 100% too, because that's going to be a great series. But this series, they could probably win this series without Steph.
As far as this series, Golden State against New Orleans and Houston against Utah, both those teams, Utah and New Orleans, played well in round one. Do you see either one of these series becoming a competitive series?
I think Utah might get a game or two, maybe at home. The fans of Utah are incredible. Shout out to the Utah Jazz. They gave me a great 6 years out there. But they're very good at home. Gobert is definitely a problem inside, defensively especially. They might get a game in Utah. I really don't see the Pelicans beating Golden State, especially with Steph coming back.
Well, we're sort of all waiting. I mean, these series are great, but can we just get to the Western Conference Finals with Golden State and Houston?
I'm looking forward to that series too.
Well, let's talk a little bit, Carlos, about a couple of teams. We'll get to the LeBron situation in a minute, but let's talk a little bit about teams that are no longer in the postseason or just didn't even make the postseason. Let's talk about Pat Riley, what he had to say about Hassan Whiteside, basically saying he wasn't prepared for the postseason. What is Pat Riley trying to get across to Hassan Whiteside by going this public shaming route?
Yeah, honestly, this is Pat Riley. He's one of the godfathers that we have in the game. I'm not sure if he's trying to light a fire under Hassan and get him motivated for what's to come, or if he's just going to, divorce and look. But, Pat's seen a lot of basketball. He's coached a lot of great players, a lot of great centers, for that to be said as well. And I think he wanted more out of Hassan. I think Miami Heat fans wanted more out of him. I'm not sure what's going on with him and the coaching staff there. That's between them. But I'm gonna tell you, when Pat Riley speaks publicly, it's either one or two things. Either he's about to trade you, or he wants to motivate you so you can have a better year next year. So I guess we'll see how that plays out come July.
Always interesting to see how or what the reaction is from a player in that standpoint. Remember, he was Spole. He had a headbutting as well, so how will he react to getting called out publicly? And then there's Carmelo Anthony, who may opt out of $28 million, while we know he's not going to get that anywhere else. What do you, forgetting the money side of this, what does Carmelo...
How can we forget the money side of it?
How do you forget the $28 million?
Thank you.
Wow.
What does Carmelo Anthony offer to a team anymore at this point?
I think Melo had a tough playoff run. He had a tough season, honestly. I mean, it was tough to watch. I'm a huge Melo fan. It was tough to watch him play that way out there. But I'll say this: Melo is a tough competitor, man. He's a scorer. He's a guy that can go inside and outside. I think in the right situation. I think there was moments where he was frustrated. He wanted to do more. I saw him during the last couple of games there against the Jazz, and he was visibly frustrated by not being on the court, but also, the coach is doing what he can to try to help the team win. Defensively, Carmelo wasn't doing the best job out there, so he had to do what he had to do, bringing in Grant off the bench. But I think Melo at this point can come off the bench for a team if he's willing to come off the bench. I know he said that he wasn't willing to do that in Oklahoma City moving forward, but I do think that he can come off the bench, give a team a great scoring punch from off the bench if he still wants to, be on a playoff team. I feel like at this stage of Melo's career, with the way that he played in the first round of the playoffs against the Jazz, it may be the next move in his career, but he may not. It may be tough to get him on that bench.
All right, Carlos Boozer with us, and this is the question I have to ask you: how comfortable do you have to be financially to say, "Yeah, I'm going to pass on the $28 million I'm guaranteed"?
Listen, you got to be extremely comfortable to pay $28 million when it's guaranteed to you, no questions asked. Even if they did a buyout, which they may end up crossing that bridge later on, do a buyout, you're still probably going to end up with 25 of that, 28, maybe 24. That's a lot of money to opt out of. I'm sorry. Even if I had to come back and endure another 7-8 months where I watch Westbrook do everything, I think I'm going to pick up that $28 million and have the best seat in the house and cheer my teammates on and come off the bench. I have no problem getting paid $28 million and coming off the bench and watching our team be successful.
I'm with you, man. That's a lot of money.
You know what? And listen, if he wants to do it for the money, there's absolutely zero wrong with that. It'll be interesting to see, or if he wants to get himself on a team to try and get a ring before he ends his career, and a guy who has a few rings, but it still always seems to be having to prove himself, and that's LeBron James. And in this series, as it gets started tonight, and we were talking about this earlier, Carlos, if Toronto doesn't win tonight, then you almost have to wonder when could they win.
Yeah, I mean, I think this series is going to be a hell of a series. I think I'm gonna be honest. I'm thoroughly impressed with what LeBron's been able to do. I know his team is one of the best teams that he's had. This is one of the worst teams that he's had going into the postseason, especially offensively. No other guys are even getting to 20 points in a game. That's tough to put all that on one person. But he's incredible, man. He's in his 15th season. He's putting up, 46 points in their victories, 45 points in his victories, still trying to get triple-double in assists and rebounds, carrying the load. He had to have 46 points just for them to win by 4. He's exerting a lot of energy. And if you guys saw the interview, post-game interview, he's like, look, I'm burnt. He just kept it honest. He was like, I'm burnt. I'm tired. I'll worry about Toronto the next day. I think Toronto, this is the best chance Toronto has to get past Cleveland. They have a very good starting five. They have an incredible bench, maybe the best bench in the NBA this season, especially with C.J. Miles coming off and the rest of those guys. If they don't win this series, they may need to break up this whole squad and start over.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, look, with Cleveland, I mean, we're at the point with LeBron where he gave you a very honest answer, where he played 43 and a half minutes and scored 45 points. And he said, I can't talk about Toronto now, I'm burnt. And some people were saying, oh, he's already setting up his excuses for when he loses in the last round. I mean, when you go there, you're just looking for things to feel bad about LeBron.
No, I disagree. I think he was being honest.
I agree. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
LeBron is the ultimate competitor.
Yeah.
Listen, for all those fans that are saying that are trying to think that he's trying to, get a cop-out and an easy excuse, he's going to try to win. Trust me, he plays to win. I mean, LeBron could easily lead the league in scoring every year. He doesn't. He plays the right way. He plays to win. And I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm picking Toronto in this series. I might pick Cleveland in this series because that's how great LeBron has been this year, and that's how great he really is. So I think I'm picking Cleveland. It may take 6 or 7, but I still think LeBron can still carry 12 grown-ass men on a playoff run and win a series.
Well, all right, you're going down that road. He's picking Cleveland in 6 or 7. If it's Cleveland in 6, Toronto's never beating the Cavs. That's just the way it is. All right, Carlos, always good to have you on. We appreciate you, man.
Thanks, Carlos.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Turn your mic on. You are a professional. Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. Damn it. All phone guests joined us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Okay, we talked a lot about the pitching that Charlie Morton threw at the Yankees last night. 7 2/3 innings, 10 strikeouts. Very impressive, very well done. But hold on a minute now. How about Josh Hader and what he was able to do last night for the Bucks? The Brewers, cross-pollinated my sports references there. He became the first pitcher since saves became official in 1969 to strike out at least 8 batters in a save of less than 3 innings. I mean, it was an unbelievable situation. He collected his 4th save of the season, went 2 2/3 of an inning. He got 7 swinging strikeouts and 1 bunt attempt that was a foul. He also walked 1 batter, so he ruined it by walking 1 batter.
Yes, he did.
But 8 outs, 8 strikeouts.
It's pretty impressive.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a way to go.
It's pretty good. By the way, opposing batters are now 0 for 49 with 39 strikeouts against Hader with 2 strikes this season. He struck out 63% of the batters he's faced, which is by far the highest strikeout percentage in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, he just says, I just attack the hitters, and whenever the manager puts me out there, I'm going to stay out there. My mindset is I don't limit myself on how many I can go. Whenever I hear you're done, that's when I'm done.
Yeah.
Very coachable.
Do what he must.
He listens well.
And by the way, you might remember the reliever that the Brewers had a few years ago named John Axford, the Axeman, had the long hair and the mustache. His hair was fine, but my God, Josh Hader's hair is for the record.
Yes, it is.
It is. It's up there with Hayden Hurst.
The head of lettuce.
The tight end for the South Carolina Gamecocks that was drafted in the first round by the Baltimore Ravens. So, look, I'm impressed by the pitching. I'm more impressed by the hair of Josh Hader.
Have you ever tried to grow your hair out long?
Well, I'm at the point where it can't.
No. I don't mean now. Yeah. I mean when you were younger.
No, it would come down to about like the bottom of my neck, but that was about it.
Like a mullet?
Yeah, a little bit like a mullet.
There you go.
Yeah.
I could never grow mine long. It always grew thick.
But see, that's amazing to me because your hair is like an impenetrable force.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, your inventory is really impressive.
Very thick, and I would let it grow occasionally, but it would never grow down.
It
would
just grows
grow
out?
thick. Yeah, it would go more out than down.
So it'd be like a popover on the top of your head?
It would. The thinning shears are big when I go get a haircut.
So it doesn't grow in the back.
Doesn't really grow
weird
in the back.
because
I know.
Most people always have it growing in the back, but
Yep.
not anywhere else.
Yeah, it doesn't. Grows out.
You are a freak
down.
of nature
I
on
am.
so many levels.
Speaking of a freak of nature from a money-wise, I want to go back to this because everybody keeps saying it. And listen, I get it. Carmelo Anthony, $28 million. Is he going to opt out or is he not? He's complained about it. He doesn't want to come off the bench and be a role player. And if he were to sit there and say, I'm not passing up $28 million, even if I barely play, that's fine. I don't blame if anybody wants to do that, correct?
Yep.
He's made $227 million in his career. So
how much?
$227 million.
And that's just on the basketball side. Has nothing to do with endorsements or anything else.
And no one is here to say that there's a limit on how much you can make.
Correct.
And usually when you make a lot, you want more because you're living at a style that says you're making a lot.
Yeah.
But so you've heard him come out and say he wants to do more. He thinks he can offer more. In your eyes, what are the odds of him leaving and going somewhere? And really, it's all about a ring, right?
Right.
Because he's got all the money in the world, maybe the all-star teams, all that stuff. Now it's about a ring, but he wants to play more because it would be interesting if he went somewhere where he'd have a better shot at a ring, but still came off the bench and didn't play a lot. It seems like for him, it's about being more involved in the offense.
Well, basically what we're doing here is we're trying to figure out how much less would you take to win a ring than the $28 million in guarantee, right? Because he's not getting anywhere near $28 million.
No, he's not. So he's not
anywhere else.
He's not losing $28 million. He'll make X amount of millions of dollars. So it'll just be the difference between the two that he won't.
But
be
is
getting.
anybody give him more than 10?
Well, okay, say it's 10.
Yeah.
So it's 18
it's a
million.
net loss of $18 million.
And that's a lot of money. But this is when you find out, right?
Yeah.
How important when you've made all that money.
For
how
a guy that never
won
won a playoff game, let alone a ring, how much would you be willing to give up for a ring?
Yeah.
You, how much?
I don't know. I need $227 million in my bank account. I'll let you know.
Coming up, is it a good thing when an athlete pleads the fifth about his team? We'll talk about it. Golic and Wingo with you, ESPN Radio, ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. I have to say, something just happened that really blew me away. I thought you were just full of it. We were trying to calculate how much money would you walk away from if you're Carmelo Anthony? What's your going away threshold? How much would you have to make to say, yeah, I don't want your stinking $28 million? So we figured out that he's made $227 million in his career in salary, and then I said, well, he's probably made close to that. Off the court. And a fine researcher, Brett, says he averages about $8 million a year every year he's been in the league. And I said, well, 15 times 8, how much is that? And you just said in a nanosecond, $120 million.
Right.
And you didn't have to think about it once.
No.
I mean, it not even for a second.
Simple
and that goes
math.
back to your flashcard thing.
Flashcard days, again, grade school, I was phenomenal. I was the best guy, but I could never win.
Debbie Kaufman.
She was my nemesis.
That was really impressive.
I
would have gotten there eventually.
You know, as quickly as I got that, sitting here with you, Debbie would have got it that much faster. And it would have aggravated me still. If she was sitting where my son sits, and we said 8 times 15, she would have said it just ahead of me. Just like when I was in 8th grade.
She is your Newman, basically.
Or 6th grade. Whatever
Newman
it was.
So I got to say, that was very impressive.
Thank you.
So
Appreciate that.
You continue to surprise me in ways that I could not possibly
surprise
understand.
you with simple math, huh?
No, 15 times 8, I would have been like 30. I would have gotten there, but that was very good.
Okay.
That was very good. You know what else is very good?
What's that?
What's trending?
Yeah, it is.
76ers Ben Simmons says he's not bothered by the Celtics fans' not a rookie chant. Of course, that's the debate, whether or not Ben Simmons or Donovan Mitchell is going to win Rookie of the Year. And on a technicality, Ben Simmons is a rookie, even though he's been around and he didn't play last year. But he said, nah, it didn't bother me at all about calling him not a rookie in the redshirt situation.
Is that really a chant that's going to bug you?
Not a rookie.
Chants, not a rookie at you?
Yeah,
I mean, really? Of all the things that we've heard that have been said to players, and in basketball, you are right there. I mean, not a rookie? I wouldn't even show up on the radar to me. I mean, would it? I mean, why would you care if they say not a rookie? I would expect that answer on him. Not a rookie. Yeah. It doesn't bother him. I would be more, scratching my head if he said, yeah, that got to me a little bit.
That ticked me off. That really drove me crazy.
Really? So this isn't really surprising to me.
15 times 9.
15 times 9?
Yeah.
135.
There you go. That was an easy one. It's
you just 15. Well, I knew it was 120. Add 15 to it.
There you go. I was just showing off for you. By the way, Ben Simmons and Donovan Mitchell are on to the second round. In all likelihood, in one way, shape, or form, they're going to go 1-2 in the rookie voting. The last time the top 2 Rookie of the Year finishers each won a playoff series, that would be 1980 when Larry Bird bested Magic Johnson for Rookie of the Year.
Okay.
So very cool. So that's sort of the pace we're looking at with these two guys. Meanwhile, having not played since March 23rd with that grade 2 MCL sprain, Steph Curry officially listed as probable for tonight's Game 2 against the Pelicans on ESPN Radio. Would you even think about playing him until you knew he's 100%?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. They don't have to rush him back.
Correct.
So he is, I'm sure, as close to 100% as he is going to be at this point. So get him back and play him. Yeah, I have this isn't like a situation where he still needs another week or so. They're in Game 7, and they need him to play to try and advance to the next round, right?
Yep.
This is Game 2 of a series there of 1-0, so it's not like, oh, my God, we better play him. It's like he's ready. He sat out long enough. He's gone through all the rehab protocol. He's done everything. He's ready to play. Let's get him out on the court. That's what you do when someone's injured, and they take the appropriate amount of time to heal up from that injury. There's really no need to sit him anymore.
And we'll see how he goes and whether there's a lot of rust for him in the NBA playoffs. Meanwhile,
as they say in hockey, let's do that hockey.
And right now, nobody's doing that hockey better than the Golden Knights. The expansion team continues to impress. They beat the Sharks 4-3 in overtime. They now lead that Western Conference semis 2-1.
Yeah, quick 3 goals in the second period. But as you mentioned, they had 2-goal lead, gave it up for the 6th time. The other 5 times that team lost. So this time they do send it to overtime. William Karlsson, he gets the overtime goal, first overtime goal of his postseason career. So the 2 games have been amazing. They scored 7 in the first one. The Sharks scored 4 in the second one, and this one now goes to overtime. So love the series going on. Lightning beat the Bruins 4-2, and they even that series up 1-1. And again, what in the NHL playoffs have been a whole lot of fun to watch with the Pens and the Capitals going at it again tonight.
Absolutely, and then of course you've got the Preds whenever the Preds are playing, and you have Taylor Lewan and the rest of the Titans offensive linemen losing beers off a dead catfish.
Did you see Shaq chasing around Barkley with a catfish full of beer?
By the way, let's be honest.
Is that?
If Shaq wanted to catch Barkley, he could. Barkley's not moving that well these days.
Yeah, but I mean, is either one of them? I mean, fast.
Yeah, I'd go with Shaq over Chuck.
Be like that thing out on social media, that little league kid running slow motion
By
to
the
home
way,
plate.
What did you think of that?
I thought it was hilarious.
I love the people so up. If that was my 3-year-old, he'd never play t-ball. Get over yourself.
It's all over social media.
Yeah.
It talks about the kid's home run trot. He's got, a young little kid.
He's 3,
and he's doing like a slow motion, one step at a time from third base to home plate.
Yeah.
And at one point, the manager goes out and tries to hurry him along, and he kind of shushes him away and continues. It was hilarious.
It was.
I thought it was hilarious.
It was hilarious.
Maybe if you're sitting there watching this take 10 minutes, and those games at that age already take about 5 hours, you may have wanted him to move it along a little bit. But you're watching it and not being part of it. Looked pretty cool.
You know, people that are calling that the demise of Western civilization, just pump the brakes. Just pump the brakes a little bit. I would have a stern talking to with my 3-year-old.
Yeah, the 3-year-old already forgot what he did on the way home. He's waiting to get some ice cream.
He's like, can I get a donut?
Yeah,
we just
exactly
do that?
right.
Can I get some fries?
Say after Dad's done with his.
Yeah, exactly. So look, just check it out. It was pretty funny.
It was pretty funny.
Okay, you know what's not funny is the simmering tensions that have been on there all season long between the Spurs and Kawhi Leonard. And now there's a story on ESPN.com with our Ramona Shelburne and Michael Wright sort of going into great detail about this. And the question becomes what they thought the injury was and how it was gotten, Mike. That seems to be the issue of this story.
Yeah, there's a definite disconnect between these two, and it's something that Pop has talked about that they need to try and smooth over. Remember, his max deal can be $219 million.
Yep.
That we'll see if he says no to that, if he's ready to move on. And boy, if he is now, again, he's on the hook for another year. So would they then trade him and say we're going to get something for him before we get rid of this guy? But he's a guy you thought he's already that guy. You know that he is the mainstay there, and you build around him to keep that going. What Popovich has going there now, to think that Kawhi Leonard could it be that bad to where after another year, this or even next year, that he isn't part of that team anymore. It'll be interesting. We already saw that Pop, did the dinners with LaMarcus Aldridge, who kind of wanted out during the summer, was talked back into playing and played very well without Kawhi Leonard. So we'll see where this one goes.
Well, look, the issue seems to be a difference of a diagnosis here. According to this article, it's on ESPN.com with Michael Wright and Ramona Shelburne. Leonard's camp believes his condition is a result of a series of contusions to the quadricep that began with a very deep bruise in March of 2016. He was again listed with a quad contusion on February 6th, 2017 injury report when he was a late scratch before a game. Multiple sources told ESPN that Leonard's camp has come to believe the issue has more to do with an ossification or hardening in the area where the muscle had been repeatedly bruised and then atrophying, which in turn affects the tendons connected to the muscle to the knee. The Spurs have always called the injury quadriceps tendinopathy, which is a disease of the tendon that has a degenerative effect on the muscle by keeping in a constant state of exhaustion. In essence, what we're saying is here, it's a muscle issue versus a tendon issue.
Okay,
One camp thinks it's a muscle issue, which is the Kawhi camp. The Spurs camp thinks it's a tendon issue, and that difference of a diagnosis of what's really causing the issue with the tendon has been the problem.
And remember, Tony Parker had an injury like this, and he came back from it, and he used the doctors in San Antonio and had nothing but high praise for them. So that seemed to be another kind of shot at Kawhi Leonard, not from Tony Parker, but just that the doctors were used there, and in this case, they're not being used. And you have every right, if you're a player, to get a second opinion. But this has really gone now, as you just mentioned, to the point of a different in diagnosis of what's going on. And so in all honesty, even if Kawhi Leonard goes back, there is going to be lack of trust with Kawhi and his people and the team doctors in San Antonio.
There's no doubt.
There already is now, so that's not magically going to go away. So any kind of injury Kawhi has going forward, minor or major, he's going to have his people be looking at it.
All right, so the question then becomes do we believe this is the sole issue between Kawhi Leonard and the Spurs, or is this a symptom of a larger problem that exists between Kawhi Leonard and the Spurs?
I think it all ignites from there. Basically, trust. Now it's wait, I got a second opinion. They think it's different than you got. Now it gets into, wait a minute. Okay, you're allowed to have a second opinion, but now you're saying our doctors are wrong. It's not just, hey, I went out and got a second opinion. Yeah, it's kind of what we talked about. Let's all work together. This is, you know what? We think our diagnosis, which is different than yours, is the right diagnosis. We think you're wrong. We think you've been wrong all along. So that's hurt our guy all along. So that's where it starts, but then it starts to run deeper because of it.
Right. And then on March 21st, Leonard said he wasn't playing because of the injury. And there's a quote, why else would I not be playing? People are just looking for spin. I haven't been here long. I've been here 6 years. The Spurs have been here way longer than that. People are going to go with that take first. And then the interview was cut off by a Spurs communication staffer, and Leonard declined subsequent interview requests. So if you believe that at the end of the day, your team is not telling you the right thing about your injury, and you want to get this thing done, and then you feel like the team is saying, hey, he's been cleared medically and he's still not out here, then that becomes the bigger issue, right, than the actual injury itself. So is that resolvable?
Well, everything's resolvable. But you know what it starts with? Getting everybody in the same room.
Yeah. And
everybody communicating, which for some reason, with egos and testosterone involved, can be very difficult to do.
Yeah.
It ends up being this he said thing, and nobody wants to get together and talk about it. I give Pop a lot of credit when things are going sideways a bit, like they were with LaMarcus Aldridge. They go out to dinner.
Right.
Go have a meal, some wine, and talk about it. Actually talk about it. So that's what needs to happen. But you know how it can't happen? When Kawhi's in New York with his people rehabbing and San Antonio is on the road, getting knocked out of the playoffs. So that's what needs to happen. There needs to be face-to-face communication. I know Pop will do that without question. I hope Kawhi does that, and their people, maybe and their doctors. The doctor, who knows? What's the harm of giving everybody in the same room? And you know what? They may be yelling at first.
Right.
And that's okay.
Yes.
But get it all out there. Get the communication lines open. I'm always amazed in professional sports, and really in everywhere, that there can be a lack of, this isn't beholden just to sports. It's everywhere in probably every walk of life. The fact that just sit down and talk to somebody, go in their office, talk to them face to face. Don't tweet it. Don't text it. Talk face to face with somebody to resolve. And sometimes they can't be resolved.
Right.
But that's okay. But the best effort is when it's going to be face to face. get in the same room, get everybody in the same room, and try and work this out.
You know, are you a fan of the TV show Billions?
Oh, I love it.
Did you see last week's episode?
I'm one short. No, I did. I did. Yes.
Okay. Basically, that's what's going on in that show.
That's exactly right.
I mean, the wife and the psychologist for accident basically had to get those two guys together.
Get them together.
Gotta get them together. See if we can work this thing out. That's the first thing I thought of.
Two egos get involved.
Yes.
You know, they just get involved.
Yeah.
And it's a shame, and everybody wants to communicate in other ways because it's too easy to type something and hit send to try and get your message across than actually sit there, look somebody in the face, and tell them why you think they're wrong or you're right, or at least have a discussion. That's what needs to happen.
And obviously complicating this is the tragic family situation with Coach Pop right
Without
now, dealing
question.
with the death of his wife. So hopefully sometime soon these two sides can get together and see if they can work this thing out. Meanwhile, the NFL is trying to figure out what to do with the kickoff. And there have been a couple of impassioned pleas from players, Matthew Slater of the Patriots and Lorenzo Alexander of the Bills, who was just on with us earlier today, about keeping it. ESPN.com story out there, the NFL now is not considering the elimination of the kickoff for the 2018 season. That, of course, from League Vice President Troy Vincent. Vincent said the league hopes to make substantive adjustments to alignment and formation requirements in hopes of repairing what is by far the most dangerous play in the game. Vincent added, there's no question that it's not about getting the kickoff out of the game. It's about enhancing it. And that, I think, is what most people want to see. You don't want to take away something that allows players to have a roster spot.
You
right?
would rather, exhaust all opportunities to manufacture it, manipulate it to where it's still part of the game, but can be a safer part of the game because there are a lot of injuries that happen on the kickoff return.
And to that point, Lorenzo Alexander, we had him on obviously today to talk about Josh Allen.
Been in the league a long time.
Been in there since 2005, I think.
2007.
2007. I think he knows what's going on. And so this was his idea. And I saw this on Twitter last night. He posted a video on Twitter last night. It made a lot of sense. Subtle changes to make it more like a punt
right.
Than a kickoff. And here's what he had to say when he was on with us earlier.
There's different ways. If you make that more to a punt style thing, now we're kind of running alongside each other and you're more body blocking and, trying to press guys out and get position that way. You can kind of eliminate some of those high impact shots that some guys are taking, just sitting there trying to absorb and take a charge, which you're taught to do, and try to prevent the guy from making a tackle.
Completely agree. So envision this. Now, first, a punt. Really, the first players down on a punt are the two gunners on the outside. And a lot of times you'll see like two players on the punt return team trying to stop them from getting down there and forcing your punt returner to make a fair catch. All the other guys are doing exactly what Lorenzo was talking about. You're basically running, you have athletes out there on these special teams, and you're basically running side by side. You're kind of body blocking or walling off. Whereas in a kickoff, we've all seen a kickoff. We know the kickoff. The kickoff team gets a 5-yard a run to the kickoff. They're at a full steam. The front line runs backwards and then sets up. So now they're basically stationary, or they just start coming forward when a full speed kickoff team is trying to avoid them, and there can be very heavy collisions. We're not even getting to the point of the returner that can have a big hit against them. So what he's saying is put the lines closer together. Don't let there be that distance to let the kickoff team build up the speed, the head of speed.
Right. Kind of like an onside kick situation.
Right. So you're closer. So now you have the kickoff return team more running side by side with the kickoff team and wall blocking and body blocking and getting in the way of the kickoff team guys, so you don't have those big hits. I think that's an interesting idea. Now, obviously, if someone on the kickoff team runs by someone on the kickoff return team, they're still going to have a big head of steam built up for the kickoff returner. But it's a better idea than all of them having the free run that they have and not really getting engaged. If you watch a kickoff, the kickoff team really, for the first time they're engaging, and that's running at full speed, is down around the 20-yard line or so. So they have a whole head of steam built up and hitting people. So it's a good idea by Lorenzo. Now, we'll see what they talk about. Today is interior line play they're going to talk about. And again, there's coaches, executive, former players, representatives from the NFLPA, all talking about safety. And as I mentioned, today's the interior line. Tomorrow they talk, the special teams talking kickoffs as well. I would like to see some sort of manipulation to it rather than just say, let's get rid of it. Because there are those that are getting rid of it.
Yep.
That they're just saying we're done with it. And again, we know college went to, if you fair catch it inside the 25, you get the ball at the 25.
The interesting thing here is that there are so many football players like Lorenzo and Matthew Slater who believe, look, this is an integral part of the game. And before he gave us what he would like to be a suggested change, he explained why he's so passionate about kickoff staying in the game.
I think it would be a mistake if we did remove it from the game. I think there are so many other things that we can do before we even get to that extreme. I understand that the NFL and I think players and coaches of the like are trying to make the game safer. And I think there's some very creative ideas that I've heard out there.
Look, this is an entry point to a lot of players. I mean, Matthew Slater doesn't have a Pro Bowl career if it's not for kickoff.
Steve Tasker is one of the players that's in these meetings with the NFL. And these are pro guys. And this is all bleeding down to youth football again. And I'll say this, and I know it's all out there with the CT and reports on one side, reports on the other side as we still gather the information. To me, and I say it, to me, I think it's the safest time for the youth to get involved in football. Never has there been a spotlight on football like there is right now.
Right.
With better equipment and better technique, better coaches being certified out there to learn the game of football. I think the next generation of football players at the youth levels coming through to the top levels. And let's be honest, every pro player out there played in the youth level. So that's why I tell these youth level kids all the time, you guys are the next high school to college to pro players. I think when this next generation comes through, you're going to see much better technique out there by players using, again, the game is not going to be safe, but you can make it safer by properly tackling on the field. Equipment is just getting better and better and better out there. So I think it is a good time with the spotlight on football right now to really get involved in the game and help make it a safer game, especially for our youth, which I think is exactly what's going on right now.
And again, people are always talking about, well, the demise of football, yada, yada, yada. The ratings suggest otherwise. Just so people understand, the first round of the draft got a significantly higher rating than Game 7 of the Pacers-Cavs. And that's what we're talking about here. It's a list of names that we just read off in some random order.
When Mike and I had Roger Goodell on, commissioner of the league, on Friday down in Dallas, we brought that up about the ratings, and Mike even went so far, and he said ratings can be down everywhere because of the choice out there. And Mike brought up to him, ratings in basketball are up. They're one of the very few that's going up. And Roger's response was, you know what? I'd still rather have our ratings. Yeah. Their ratings are up. Ours are down a little bit, but they're still way higher than basketball's. And that's what they're pointing to. They're still doing these monster deals, still making the money for their bottom line that the owners like out there. So, their ratings, even though they are down a little bit, are still way higher than everybody else's.
Yeah. At the end of the day, are there issues that need to be fixed in football? Absolutely.
It's not a perfect sport. Nothing is.
But at the end of the day, every other sport would like to have football's problems.
Without question.
That's just the fact. That's just the way it is.
Hey, everyone. Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Next, you're holding up the line, ma'am.
What did you say?
You're next in line for the water slide, ma'am. Feet forward and enjoy the ride.
Okay, dearie, this does look fun. Whee-oh, you melted me. I've melted.
The Wicked Witch of the West on a water slide? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
See what you've done. Oh!
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Golic and Wingo with you on ESPN Radio and ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests will join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, and that was Todd McShay, among others, raving about the idea of Saquon Barkley going second overall to the New York Football Giants, and that's exactly what happened, which means in one way Saquon Barkley has gone home. Yes, he played his high school ball outside of Allentown, Pennsylvania, but he's from New York City, and now he looks to be the guy to get New York City back and running with the New York Giants. And we're delighted to be joined now on Golic and Wingo by the newest member of the Giants, and that is the second overall pick of the draft, Saquon Barkley. Saquon, congratulations on being the second overall pick. What does it mean for you to be able to go back into New York and play football in the city where you're from?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for having me. And what does it mean? It means everything, Obviously, like you said, I was born in New York. I was born in the Bronx. And to be able to come back to New York City and play for a team like the New York Giants is truly an honor and truly a blessing. And having a kid, having a child, me and my girlfriend, with my little girl, Jada, being close to home. That also helped. That also helps too, especially the situation we're in. And obviously, I'm gonna be in camp and working out and doing football stuff, and obviously part of my child's life. But there's gonna be time where I'm away, say for away games, or if I gotta go to a hotel for games. And my parents and her parents live not too far away, so this is kind of like the perfect and best fit for me.
And yes, and congratulations on the birth of your child, yours and your girlfriend.
Quite a week, right?
Well, I was going to say, you're probably the one in this draft who said the draft getting picked was probably the second greatest thing that happened in the past week for you, right?
Yeah, exactly. This week was amazing for me, and first of all, having a child and stepping into fatherhood and have my little baby girl, and then be able to go live out my dream and go take another step to live out my dream, and that's in the draft. And this is a week and a moment that hopefully within 20 years, me and my family and my little girl can reflect back on.
I don't know if it will actually fall upon the realization be there until you're actually in pads playing games, but how much are you an understanding of just the expectation of what you're thought to bring to this offense and to save this offense?
Yeah, I hear that. I understand how people feel, and that I have expectations for myself. I don't let other people's opinions dictate my approach to the game and my mentality to the game. That's not going to change. Whether people thought that me coming in being the second pick was an awful pick, or people think me coming in the pick and being the second pick being a great pick and having all these great expectations, I'm supposed to do this and do that. I don't focus on that. The way I focus is to keep my approach the same, and that's being passionate about the game of football, loving the game of football, being a competitor, leader, and pushing my teammates.
Saquon Barkley.
That's how I view it.
Sorry about that. Saquon Barkley with us, Giants running back, former Penn State running back, and a brand new father. All of those things are wonderful. Early indications, Saquon, are that this pick is resonating well with the Giants. Apparently, you generated more jersey sales on NFL Draft Night than any other first-round pick. That's according to Fanatics, which runs the official NFL online shop. They said that you sold more jerseys in Draft Night than any other player in its history. So that tells me that most people like this pick, Saquon, rather than have a problem with it.
Yeah, that was actually, I don't really get caught up in the moment and stuff like that. That was one time where I was like, wow. Because we look at the history of the draft and the history of the NFL and how many great players have played in the NFL and got drafted, and to have that number and have that stat and that fact of the most jerseys sold in history is just a moment that makes you think that, wow, all the hard work you put in, people are noticing. And it's not just the things you're doing on the field, it's things you're doing off the field where you're carrying yourself. And that's just a true representing of my parents, and credit to my parents and how they raised me. And, so that stat right there is a crazy stat that no one can ever take away from me in the way I reach that.
And the beautiful thing is you can actually get paid for your jersey being sold now. Talking to Saquon Barkley, the Giants' new running back. So we know you can run the ball. We know you can catch the ball out of the backfield. But it's the things that most people don't look at and see that really keep you on the field and make you such an important weapon is the fact that you can block as a running back as well and pick up the blitz. Where did that come from?
That came from just getting challenged from my college running back coach. He knows the type of player I want to be, and he said if you want to be one of the best players in college football and want to make that transition to the next level, you got to learn how to block. That's something that I didn't do well my freshman year, and it's common for a younger back coming to college not to be great at that, and I'm still not great at pass blocking. I still have a lot of room to improve, but just the understanding of the game and seeing the defensive schemes and the blitzes and all that, understanding the defense as I got older and as I played more games, just kind of came a little more natural to me. And that's the stuff you got to be willing to do if you want to be an every down back. You don't want to just be a one-dimensional back. I want to be a complete back, not just a complete back, a complete player. That's what running the ball in between tackles, outside tackles, catching the ball in the backfield, passing. If I'm a dummy, if it's just a play action and really try to sell that play action as best as I can, try to have that presence to have teams follow me and open up other things. And then if it's on special teams, whatever the team needs me to do, I have that mindset of, trying to continue to improve in every part of the game to be the best player you could possibly be to help your team out.
Well, certainly that is the goal for the Giants to get the most out of you. Leonard Fournette went 4th overall last year, and the year before that, Ezekiel Elliott, the running back, went 4th overall to the Dallas Cowboys. And I think that with the 2nd overall pick, they're probably looking at that kind of production, hopeful to get out of you. Leonard Fournette had a solid year in 2017, but Ezekiel Elliott, when he was 4th overall a couple of years ago, his numbers over 1,600 rushing yards, 15 rushing touchdowns. What are your expectations for what you think you can contribute on the field your rookie year?
Well, my expectations is first of all, come in and earn everything. Come in and try to be a great teammate and learn from the guys. I got a back, Jonathan Stewart, who's been in the NFL for a long time. Be able to pick his brain and not just pick his game for the mental part of it. Just, like I said, he's been playing the league for probably 10 years plus. How you do that, especially at the running back position? How did you keep that longevity? What do you do to take care of your body? What do you do to separate yourself from other backs that weren't able to keep the career as long? And you got Eli Manning, a great quarterback, established quarterback, and get to pick his brain and learn from him in the pass protection and expand my football knowledge, my football IQ, and then do what the team needs you to do. If it's run the ball 30 times a game, then that's what you got to do. If it's run the ball 8 times a game, catch the ball 5 times out of the backfield, and pass block, then that's what you got to do. I'm not really big into numbers. I'm not really big into how many touchdowns you score, because I realized in college that some of my best games were the games I didn't even have a lot of yards, and I didn't have an impact in the game statistically, but going back and watching film, I was able to impact the game, have a presence in the game without the ball in my hand, and that's something that my college coach really helped me understand and realize, and that's the same type of mentality I'm going to take to the next level, and that's why I think in this draft that I separated myself. A lot of people ask me what separates yourself from the other draft picks. This draft is so talented. You got talented quarterbacks and talented running backs and defensive players, but that's where I felt I was able to have a presence and impact in the game without the ball in my hand or without making a crazy stat. That's being a leader, and that's even like running a fake and bringing 4 guys with you on a game-winning play, come up and stepping up and putting your head in the pass block to try to create space for a quarterback to make a great pass. All those little things is what I'm trying to continue to bring on with the next level.
Talking to Saquon Barkley, number 2 pick overall. Giants picked him up running back since 2000. 10 teams have taken a running back in the top 5. 6 of those 10 teams made the playoffs that season. One other thing you do, Saquon, is you return kicks extremely well.
Right.
What's your thoughts on the possibility of the future of kickoffs in the NFL maybe going away?
I hope not. I hope not. That's the game. That's part of the game, especially for me. That's something I love to do. So I really hope that part doesn't go away. And I obviously think they got to come to agreement in a way that they feel it's healthy and safe. But I hope that part of the game don't come away. They don't get rid of that, because that's a game that's a part of the game you can impact games. I realized that in college, going back there and be able to have an impact back there. And you look at the Devin Hesters in the world, and I'm not saying I'm any Devin Hester, nowhere near close, but he's able to change the game. And especially if you have elite players that can go back there, that's part of the game. It's a fun part of the game that fans love to watch and fans love to enjoy.
We'll see if that part of the game gets changed. Something it seems in your family needs to get changed. Your dad has a Jets tattoo.
Yeah.
But you said you were going to fix it after being drafted by the Giants. So how do you intend to fix said tattoo?
That is a great question. How do I fix that? Because, tattoos are hard to remove and it hurts to remove. But, the way I view that is we grew up Jets fans, and my dad still probably will be a Jets fan, but he'll be even a bigger Giants fan. And I think I'm gonna let him get away with the tattoo. I just hope it kind of just goes out in the smoke. Hopefully, we have a lot of success as Giants that no one even remembers about the Jets tattoo. So hopefully 4 to 5 years from now, that's not even brought up. I'm trying to get rid of it away, but it keeps coming back, and you guys don't let it go.
Well, listen, I have a sneaking suspicion your dad's going to become more of a Giants fan.
I would say so.
I'm going to put all my chips on that table for sure. Saquon, listen, we appreciate you being with us. Look forward to watching you play with the Giants. It should be a lot of fun. Thanks for stopping by this morning.
Thanks, Saquon.
No problem. Thank you guys for having me so much.
Saquon Barkley, second overall pick. You want to talk about old soul? He gets it,
really.
Man. He just gets it.
I'm telling you where he gets it. If you want to be on the field and be a weapon on third down, you have to be able to block. Yeah. You have to be able to pick up the blitz. If you're a liability, you're on the sideline, and then you can't do the things that they expect out of him.
And again, I loved his answer. Some of my best games came when I didn't have great stats. I just wanted to be whatever I could be for the team. That's why I love football. It's a team game, man. It's about 11 guys pulling together.
It's Golic and Wingo.
So is that resolvable?
Well, everything's resolvable. Starts with getting everybody in the same room.
Yeah. And everybody communicating, which for some reason can be very difficult to do. It ends up being a he said thing. Nobody wants to get together.
And sometimes they can't be resolved. See?
I don't know what that was.
Simple communication.
What was that?
It was just simple talk. Sports Center brought to you by DXL.
What was that?
If you're built like a linebacker or a power forward, finding clothes that fit has never been easy until DXL. DXL was built for XL guys with over 100 brands and an unrivaled fit starting at size XL. So get to your nearby DXL store or visit them online at destinationxl.com. Built to fit, built XL, DXL.
I do love you because you tend to work your way into situations because that rant started with everything's resolvable until sometimes things aren't resolvable. That's what that was in that rejoin.
Everything's resolvable.
Until they're not. I would not pick up the phone until you pick up the phone.
It's all resolvable. You may get in the room and not agree and may go your separate ways.
Yes.
But it can be resolvable.
I am with you, man.
Thank you.
I am with you 100%.
It's probably not where you want to be.
Oh, come on. Where else would I rather be than right here, right now, in this studio with you? All right. Again, there's more interesting details coming up on ESPN.com on that situation from the story about Kawhi Leonard, and really where the issue with the Spurs has gotten to and how it's gotten to this point is that the two sides, Kawhi's doctors and the Spurs doctors, believe the issue that's been causing the pain and the injury come from two different things, and that seems to be unresolvable at this point.
Yeah, it does. It's a matter of muscle versus tendon, it seems, as far as the injury is concerned, not to get in too many details with it. But all athletes are allowed under CBA rules to get a second opinion. Yep. Now, Tony Parker had a quad contusion that was thought to be worse than Kawhi Leonard's. He came back. And I don't know whether it was or not. He came back and he used the San Antonio doctors. And there certainly seems to be a thought process that Kawhi didn't buy into, and Kawhi's people, what the San Antonio doctors were saying. So he had his own doctor, a second opinion, and hence, we all know the story, rehabbing out in New York. Can this be resolved? That's the question here. To me, the only way, or one of the ways it can, is that they have to get face to face. I don't understand in this day and age with something this big. And we're talking about one of the top players in the league staying with your team. And from his side, making $219 million on a max deal. That you
That's
wouldn't,
a lot of cash,
that
man.
you wouldn't do everything you can unless they're past the point, which I have no idea if they are or aren't. And if they are, I would have hoped they've gotten together and have talked face to face. I just don't get any situation where you think typing something and hitting send is a discussion you need to have in this serious of a conversation.
And then the reason this becomes such a bigger issue, not just beyond Kawhi and the Spurs, what Kawhi does is going to have an ancillary effect on everything else that happens in the free agent market.
Right.
I mean, how Kawhi Leonard's situation plays out may affect how LeBron James' situation plays out, which may affect how Paul George's situation plays out, although Playoff P kind of played himself out of that nickname with the way he played in the postseason.
Yeah, I say so, yeah.
Hashtag don't give yourself your own nickname.
No.
So the Kawhi thing is interesting because the idea of maybe Kawhi and LeBron somewhere together is fascinating, or if Kawhi goes somewhere, LeBron doesn't go there. That's why this thing is so much more than just how does Kawhi resolve this with the Spurs, because as we all know, the NBA offseason at times is as intriguing, exciting, and interesting as the regular season with the drama that unfolds, and this is going to be all part of that layered together.
He's got one more year, I think at 21 mil or something like that. But, does he speak up and say, I want out? Like Kyrie did, to where, they feel they have to trade him. You're right. I mean, that's a big, big name and big time player that possibly could be on the move somewhere. Be interesting to see where that goes.
And we'll see what happens tonight in Game 1 in the Eastern Conference semis between the Cavs and the Raptors. Again, LeBron looking for help. Anybody, someone, step up and score 20 points and see if LeBron and the company can steal Game 1. Coming up on tomorrow's show, Jets GM Mike McCagnon about the idea of landing Sam Darnold. We'll see you then.